So today we're going to be taking a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. We are on episode 60 of the series, and in the last episode, a good amount of stuff happened, actually. First of all, if you go ahead and look at the Alliance layer, which I'm horrible at this. I haven't recorded in like 4 days. But these guys joined the harsh alliance with the Bolivians and all these guys in South America, the Cool People Club. I guess these are also the Cool People Club, though. Also, some other stuff that we saw is, well, the Chinese nuking the terrorists 3 times, and a war started between the Chinese alliance and the terrorists up in here in, like, the Mongol area, I guess. I don't even know, this is like Xinjiang or something. It doesn't matter, but anyways, this is a very, very bad war, and it maybe could spill into maybe world wars, who knows? But anyways, let's go ahead and start this video with the continuation of this war. Now, it's a very interesting war because it's between like China, the fourth strongest country in the world, and then South China, who's like that's like number 10 or something, and then these three, which I mean, this guy is something. These two are nothing, but they still overall help with these two invasions. And I mean, the terrorists who got nuked 3 times are probably not doing very well. However, the terrorists do not care. They're still on the border. They know that their country is being attacked from this area. However, they will continue to start invading into these Chinese areas. Now, the Chinese are pouring way more and more troops, and they're mobilizing to something nobody has ever seen. Well, I mean, people have seen before, but not in World War like terms. So, like in World War terms, the biggest, like I would say, probably the biggest amount of troops the country has ever had. By the way, this is an updated major city map. It's probably the North Indian Federation or something like that. I mean, they had a lot of troops fighting against Sri Lanka. They had I guess a truce with Tibet, but they were also fighting over here. The North Indian Federation had a lot to deal with, so they probably had the most troops ever mobilized in a world war. However, probably in the world. However, this is not a world war. However, China is mobilizing way more than people would think. Korea is kind of getting like they're on standby. So is all these other countries around it. But so is the terrorists. They're mobilizing to something that people have never seen before, especially out of a smaller country. And this is just insane on what is going on. They keep pushing down over in this region, and they also push against the Chinese allies. This is where China starts to mobilize a lot more, and they start to get their stuff together as they push around and out, starting to take a very big amount of land. They do especially make a bulge out of this region near the capital, or one of the capitals of this former country, which has just become basically just a war zone. I'm not sponsored by Warzone, but anyways, they also start to invade over through this region with their allies. And overall, this is not a good situation for like any country in this region. A lot of countries in the Asian region are really getting on standby. They're really worried about what this war can bring up. And even the Japanese countries are getting a little worried. Well, let's go over here to Atlantis, where not many wars have happened. However, that is about to change, as the Yellow Heart Alliance country up here will start their invasion of this green country, which actually just recently formed. They take the capital very quickly, as this is a pretty weak country. And the Yellow country, I don't know if it's the biggest country in Atlantis, but they're about to be. And they're also the most populated, they have the most military, they're most stable. They are doing really good, and that's why they made the strategic choice to join an alliance, in which they start moving across the whole Atlantis coastline and start moving down closer and closer and just pretty much just taking the whole this whole like one whole half of this whole country. And as they advance down the coastline, the green team will surrender. And let's go ahead and take a look at this peace treaty of, I guess, West Atlantis. And in the peace treaty, the yellow team takes pretty much all of North Atlantis area. Um, they take this like northern part of this country, including the capital, which is a lot of the population of this country. And it's reduced to this, and they do not have good relations. They have pretty sour relations, in fact. And countries around the yellow team are starting to get a little bit worried of it. So some action in Atlantis is finally gonna happen. You know, this country or this continent has been very like yeah, there's not been a lot happening here. This is like the first thing that happened in a long time. This country came out of like the blue country that existed over here, And that's like one of the first things that actually happened out in here, except for the island forming, like its continent. Anyways, let's go back over to this war where we see a big event happen, which is a Chinese spearhead over towards this capital city. The spearhead forms and it is approaching the capital very like it approaches it and it takes it. However, as fear starts to happen that a encirclement of these troops will happen, the Chinese will back out of this area. However, they'll make a better front as they start to push into this region, and they just start overall take a lot of land. They also kind of just yeah, the Chinese do take a lot of land. However, the terrorists are also doing pretty well. It's just really just a back and forth, and it's not going well. However, rebellions happen in this region, which will bring back the gold country. It will not bring them back, but it kind of rejuvenates them. They're back now, sort of. And a lot of rebellions or revolts happen in this region, which are, of course, funded by the Chinese alliance. And, of course, they also meet together, and they are joining the fight against the terrorists. They just don't want to be a part of this. This is not a very fun country to be a part of. It's kind of like if the fascist bloc tried to come back. Remember, like Madagascar had fascists in it. Yeah, that was like a very like short part of history that's kind of glossed over. In like episode 42, they went on a big conquest, but then like yeah, the African fascists kind of died. Speaking of that, not much has happened in Africa recently, which is about to change probably. But yeah, we can see that the Chinese allies in South China will make a push to meet each other, and this will actually happen as they meet each other in South China, or wherever this area of land is. And well, they meet each other, which is a great bonus, and they even retake this country's capital, which is a big bonus for the Chinese allies in China as a whole, which gives them a major morale boost, and a lot more soldiers actually come to the army, like they want to. They may or may not have been conscripted, some of them, but you know, it's fine. Coming over here, we can see that Alaska's about to die. So Alaska, you know, Alberta kind of got independence from it, but that doesn't matter. Alaska is it's not gonna survive, and Alberta is about to get huge. Alberta has had enough of Alaska. They've wanted independence for a long time, and the capital's taken very quickly. And then, of course, the California, or not the Californians, the Arizonans always have to get their part in this war, so they start to take a little bit of land. So Alaska just surrenders. I mean, Alaska was never going to survive in the long run. They were way too big, and they were way too unstable. Let's take a look at a peace treaty. So in this peace treaty, I keep calling it California. Arizona takes this part of Alaska, so it just takes the mainland part of Alaska, which is not very valuable, but there's oil there, so maybe. And then, of course, Alberta takes the rest. And Alberta is actually like a medium strong country. I mean, if really all of their powerful land is like this, so I mean, yeah, it's actually, I can demonstrate it better for you. It's actually mostly like this. This is their most powerful land, and, I mean, it's not even that powerful at that, so it's pretty surprising on how they've been able to win all these wars. But I guess you also have Big Daddy, Arizona's assistance. I will never say Big Daddy ever again, although I probably will. Just not in this recording. Anyways, like, this is, like, not very good. But the final straw for this parallelogram alliance is about to happen. Well, the Heart Alliance is gonna go ahead and add somebody into their alliance that is in the North American continent, and that's America. What? Like, I try to make this so cinematic, and of course it has to be a white square. Like, I wasn't even like, what was I doing? I am just so horrible at this. It seems like. They join the Heart Alliance, and immediately the Parallelogram Alliance declares war on the Heart Alliance, which is a major, major, major bad thing, as the Parallelogram and the Alliance and the Heart Alliance are the pretty much South Americans and the North Americans now fighting against up each other, with the inclusion of this guy. Michigan is well, they don't like that these guys are expanding, But what they also don't like is that they don't like the Carolinians, so they're just gonna sit here. They're gonna sit here, lay out this war, and if they do have to join, they will. Same with these guys. These guys are like really in a good relation, and they might even unite soon. That's just what they. That's just what people think, because they're really similar, uh, in terms of everything basically. But of course, these guys are now fighting, which is it's not good. Now the Heart Alliance expected this, so the Heart Alliance is going to be able to push in to the South Mexicans. The Parallelogram Alliance didn't expect this, but they knew that they would declare war. And yes, they did have troops on the border. However, they went back as they saw some naval states happening in this area. So they were kind of on the standby over there. But then this happened. So yeah, it's just not very good. Parallelogram Alliance is going to attempt to get a bunch of countries to join in this region, such as Florida, this guy, which they were planning on invading, and even, of course, these three decline. This guy says, well, this guy just they don't want land. They're anti-expanders. They said they would take no land from Carolina in World War IV, and they did not. They just did not. They did not take any land, and they are mad that these guys are just encroaching on their continent. So who knows? Maybe a something else could happen. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna say, but maybe something else could happen, which could completely switch the tides of war, and maybe it could even transpire into something way worse. Maybe a bunch of elves can cause World War VI or World War V to happen. But let's go back over here where the terrorists are gaining ground, as they do take a little bit of land in the Gold Team. However, this is like a very strong area for the Chinese alliance. They're mainly going to take a lot of land over here. However, they're going to run into a little bit of an issue, which is that they are struggling to gain a lot more troops, as either people are attempting to kind of invade the government, like, no, you're not going to you're not going to make us go and join the army for these stupid reasons. Or there's just not a lot of people anyway. This country doesn't have a lot of people in it, so they're using a good amount of the whole entire country's people to fight in this war, which is not a good thing, because if you run out of army, you run out of people, and if you run out of people, you get no army, and then your country is going to fall apart to a billion pieces. That's basically just how it happens. Korea is like, they are insanely worried that something could happen, and they're kind of like a position, and they signify something is going to happen, which is not going to be good. And if you couldn't tell, this episode is 30 minutes, and that's for a good reason. Not only have I not uploaded in a little bit, but also this is going to be the majorest like episode in history in my wicso, because like another alliance is gonna form up. That's how like major this is gonna be, and it's just not very good. Maybe even two alliances. We'll just have to see. So we can go ahead and see that these guys are going to continue to expand around the Nicaragua region, and Bolivia is doing very well in this war. However, they will get pushed back in a little bit as finally the troops are starting to get back. And while Bolivia is not a weak country, however, they just didn't put too much into this, and now Bolivia is pumping troops, pumping troops into this region, and that is not a good thing. And it's just really getting bloody now. Randomly, we can see that this purple country is going to start invading this orange country. It's like really random, and it's like kind of a byproduct of all of this. That I guess they just want to be a part of the chaos. And Atlantis is getting involved into this whole like world fiasco, it seems like. And the world is kind of collapsing. I can tell you that there's not going to be an end of the world in this episode. However, it's going to get extremely close as this purple country joins the Chinese alliance and starts their invasion of the terrorists. They start their invasion of the terrorists, and this is just insane on what is going on in the world, as the world is like pretty much falling apart. The North Indian Federation and their bloc are like considering doing something. They're having a meeting right now. So is the Arabian Union. But a coalition of countries in the world are going to make an alliance to kind of like be like, hey, we don't want to be a part of these guys' alliances, so how about we create our own alliance? Because, we don't want to be a part of your alliance, and if we don't want to be a part of your alliance, how about we create our own alliance, which is shared between a lot of countries in the world? And let's go ahead and see those. The first one it'll be formed by is the kind of like Angolan Union, or whatever you want to call this. South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, This red country up here, Morocco, and then really the most of them come in Europe, as we see the Southern French Union, who's not really Southern anymore, the North Italians, even the Sicilians, who they've just been chilling recently. The Germans are gonna join this kind of pact. The Swedish are gonna join this pact, surprisingly. A lot of people actually thought they would join the Heart Alliance, but that's not, and that's because the Heart Alliance's attempts to overthrow the government in Sweden did not happen. Russia even joined this pact, which is crazy because, Sweden's on the same alliance. And Russia and Sweden have had, well, they've had a lot of conflicts in history, if you haven't watched the whole series. Greece joins this. Michigan, they join this pact. We see New York join, if you want to call it New York. Maybe you can also call it Rhode Island or whatever. I did switch it to a parallelogram, but other countries that are going to join this, like West Australia, is going to join it. Really, Thailand join it. Cambodia join it. The Philippines, they also join it. And the amount of countries not in alliances are decreasing. By like a lot. More moves are going to be made as Quebec is going to join the Parallelogram Alliance. And, well, now this is just becoming basically a world kind of game. Can you get more countries on your alliance? The Diamond Alliance can. In fact, they can get a lot. Can the North Indian Federation's thing get some? Yeah, some. It's just insane. Back over here in the terrorist area, we can see that these countries are the terrorists are kind of getting beat back heavily, like really bad. And like yeah, the terrorists are losing soldiers very rapidly, and it seems like the source of all of this is starting to calm down. Even these guys are starting to get pushed back, and they get pushed back all the way to their country, in which they start to get invaded even more. Back over here on this front, the Bolivians will mobilize a bunch and a bunch of more soldiers to continue into Central America, taking all of El Salvador, as well as some more areas of Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua, taking just a lot of land. The Parallelogram Alliance really thought that they kind of improved their game. And remember, these guys have nukes, but I think it's time to do an updated nuclear weapon layer when we're already basically in the middle of a world war. Honestly, I would call it a world war, is it's the Americas, but if you don't count the Americas as uh two continents, then it's just a regional war or continental war, but it is a world war if you count these two as different continents, which I do. So World War Five is happening. But even if you don't count it as these as two continents, there's still Atlantis. But World War Five is gonna officially start, and you already know what I'm looking at. Well, let's just do the nukes. Let's just do the nukes first, which is by the way, it's about to actually explode. Like you're about to go from 71 to like 120. Let's just see what happens. Okay, so you go from 13 to 29. Okay, well that's a lot. You go from 7 to 26. Well, that's a lot. You go from 36 to 51. Oh, that's a lot. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, guess who just got a nuclear weapon? He actually got 4. Or 3, whatever. Same difference. China just went from 29 to 56 nuclear weapons. They're getting very fast. North Indian Federation's actually going to participate. They're going to not care about their allies as much now. They're going to only probably get like a couple more for their allies, but they're going to get a lot more for themselves. So they go from 71 and 16 to 123 and 21, and that is a whole lot more. They gain 6 more ones for their allies. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Oh, they're all in Ethiopia. That's interesting. Anyways, the Arabian Union goes from 62 to 112. Egypt goes from 31 to 60, rapidly increasing their amount of nuclear weapons. And, well, the world is, in shambles. Every continent, except I guess Australia, has its own nuclear weapons. And that's just, it's really not good, considering the fact that nuclear weapons are very bad. And there's definitely like 300 or 400 nuclear weapons in the world. I mean, in combining these two, there's already 200, 250. and then you combine this guy, it's like, yeah, there's definitely 300. There's definitely 400. There's around probably like 440 or something like that, which is just insane, and I don't think it's decreasing. I think even after the war, the nukes are gonna go up and up and up. We'll just have to see what happens. But of course, it starts with these guys. These guys are a little stupid. So, like, okay, these guys have kind of been stupid in history. I'm gonna diss them, I don't care. They went to war with, like, most of the people around them. I think all of them, actually. And, they're, like, kind of dumb. Like, kind of really dumb. Especially right now. Their leader is, like, I don't want to sound mean, so I'm not gonna say the word that he is, but he is kind of, he's gonna, So, like, he decides that he wants, like, to not, like, he wants to try to be smart. He wants to, you know, he's like, no nukes. We don't want nukes. North Indian Federation, take the nukes back. So the North Indian Federation's like, yeah, I'll take my nukes back. So while shipping them, or not shipping them, what am I talking about? Getting them back, of course, an error happens in Qatar. Qatar has a city, I think. They have one city, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's up in the north. And it happens right here. While they are shipping it to the North Indian Federation, they could also hit the brown team, I guess, but it's like right here in this pixel. Let's do it. Like right here. They're shipping it to the North Indian Federation, or not shipping it, they're flying it, and because that's their technology. It's like a path like that. And, well, something unfortunate happens. Of course, while it's right here, it gets, well, yeah, something bad happens. You want to know what happened? Well, it gets down. That doesn't sound right. It gets down. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It flies down and crashes, and a nuclear bomb explodes in Qatar, killing a couple thousand people. And now this isn't as close as here as it looks, but it is still pretty close, and it does hit to about here, which is a very big nuclear. That's like a new, very big nuclear blast. I mean, the radiation is all in this area, which is basically what I meant. I meant radiation. I meant not the nuclear blast, like all the way over here. No, that's not what I'm insinuating. It's just the radiation and stuff, which of course kills people. It doesn't matter if it kills people in cities. It still kills people. So the Arabian Union and their allies are going to declare war on the North Indian Federation and their allies, which now causes World War V. And now the world's like, oh, what just happened? Oh, well, that's not good. World War V just started, and it's all over the world. The Americas, it's in Africa, it's in Asia, could spread to Australia. It's not in Europe either yet. But trust me, something bad's gonna happen. Of course, everything bad just has to happen. And, let's just go ahead and take a look. I hinted at this earlier. Let's just go take a look at it now. Let's look in the elf countries. Now, the elf countries are a very interesting set of countries. Um, well, the Parallelogram Alliance starts invading these countries through Texas and through Oklahoma. But this is not very good. That something major has just happened, and that is these countries, of course, joining alliances. It's insane. Like how do you fumble this bad? Why are you invading a country that is just joining an alliance? Well, of course, it's the North Indian Federation's alliance. That's what these guys join, and it's also what not those guys. These guys join, but these guys are a little different. They are originally from the Blue Andalusians slash Valencians, and they have a little bit of a different thought, and that thought is, of course, joining an alliance which would cause even more chaos, which is the Diamond Alliance. So, of course, they joined the Diamond Alliance wherever my diamond is. There it is. So they join it, which causes a bunch of drama because guess what is also happening now? The Parallelogram Alliance is invading these guys. So that's causing like these. Not only are these guys now gonna fight, but these guys are gonna fight, and then these guys are gonna fight, which is horrible because maybe these guys are getting involved, and it's just a big old train wreck. There's no clear sides. Like there's no like, oh, North Indian Federation with the Heart Alliance. No. However, those are actually kind of cooperating well. At least a little bit. They're doing They're doing a little bit well in terms of cooperation. And the whole thing that, we aren't an expansionist alliance, says the Heart Alliance. Well, maybe that's a lie. They start invading this blue country because they want to get to Oklahoma faster, because Oklahoma isn't invading as fast as they want to. So they're trying to get to it, and, well, they do. And now they're just kind of pausing this invasion because now they're invading this guy. It's like, really, dude? Like, really? So the Parallelogram Alliance is going to do something devious. They're going to frame Bolivian. They're going to frame Bolivia's alliance, specifically Carolina. They're going to frame Carolina as, well, invading. So of course, Oklahoma does kill a bunch of these guys' troops, and yeah, there's a lot of their equipment off of their dead bodies. And, of course, they go into action. They spare some of their prisoners, actually. Their top, worst prisoners. They say go to the front lines, and they put them in Carolinian gear, and they start invading these two countries. And you want to know how? So they start framing them, especially in this region. They're like going across this border, and it's not good. It's like kind of weird because the brown team also thinks that these guys are their own troops, although they look a little different. I got red all over them for some reason, probably because of the blood of the previous soldiers. Well, so now the Arabian Union Alliance declares war on the Bolivian Alliance. And of course, you need something worse to happen. So these guys are gonna be so devious. They go to this guy's border because because the Arabian Union Alliance has already declared war on these guys, and they think that these are their own soldiers. But nope, they are Oklahoman soldiers, and they are now invading into this North Indian Federation. So now the North Indian Federation is joining the alliance against these guys. So now it's just a full all-way war. And when this all happens, of course, these guys get kicked out. They get kicked out of these countries pretty rapidly. In fact, we have some kind of cross invasion happening right now, and well, they get kicked out. The Oklahomans get kicked out. That was a very weird expansion, but that really paid off for the Parallelogram Alliance, as now these guys can fight against each other. I mean, they were already going to do that because they were already on different alliances, but now Bolivia also is on it. So now Bolivia can't just solo everybody over here, which means they have to pull troops from this region, and, well, they do that very quickly. And now it's really cross invasion, as now the orange team is invading into the previous blue team's land. And same with the Oklahomans. And the Arizonans are they're clapping this on. They are so proud of their Arizonan brothers for doing this, for framing the Bolivians. And when Bolivia hears that they got framed, they're not happy, and they start invading into South Mexico, who apparently was not as strong as Parallelogram Alliance thought they were, and they start taking the Yucatan Peninsula and getting close to their origin lands, which are only like this. So, yeah, they've expanded a lot in history, and now they're in a full-scale world war. Well, these guys are now going to get their troops, and they're going to, well, ready their troops up, and now start invading into these guys' lands in order to maybe I mean, this is going to be a very difficult war for the Carolinians to fight, like a very difficult war, and it's kind of a cluster over here, if I'm not gonna lie, but the gold team is not gonna survive, so we might as well just do that. And we also might as well just kind of do that. I mean, Texas is kind of doing a lot in this war. They're invading through a lot, but now this looks less weird. It still kind of looks weird, but it looks less weird. And now it more looks like the Carolinians are trying to invade all these guys, even though they're not. And they were never actually trying to. Back over here on this front line, we can see that the orange country is completely getting invaded, and they fall because they know that, I mean, this guy might want to go on it. And, well, they're fully annexed, which is not good. This is just so stupid. The world is just falling apart, and countries are disappearing day by day. The terrorists are doing exceptionally bad over here in the northern regions, and they lose this land. However, now they set up a defense, and they actually managed to take a good portion of land back in the northern region. And now they're kind of just sitting here, just kind of minding their own business. They're still doing a defensive line, however, it's not very good. So the only alliance not involved in a world war is the Star Alliance, which kind of is doing their own mini regional with the terrorists. something devious might happen with them. We'll just have to see. This is kind of a repeat of World War One in my book. So if you remember, World War One was between Sweden, the Ottomans, Russia, China, and Korea. It was a five-way war, and this is also kind of a five-way war. However, China's not involved. It's just a four-way war between the parallelograms, the hearts, these guys, and these guys, and this is a lot of fighting in America. This is the most fighting America's ever had. Of course, I also had a lot of fighting in World War Four, and even fairly, maybe a little bit in World War Three. But in World War Four, they had a lot of fighting. However, this is like a lot of casualties are happening, and nuclear weapons could be thrown at any time. And of course, that's not good. Coming over here, though, the Mexicans are helping out their brothers and the South Mexicans as they start invading into the southern areas, specifically in El Salvador, to kind of maybe make an encirclement of these troops in the Yucatan area. They're also starting their invasion of the Floridans land in Puerto Rico and Hispaniola, as well as Jamaica, and they even make a landing into Cuba and the Bahamas. Anyways, that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Yeah, I know it was like a lot to keep up with, but let's go ahead and like take off the military alliance layer. And yeah, so a lot of stuff is happening right now. There's no invasions from the Arabians or the North Indian Federation yet. They are still getting their troops numbers way high. This is going to be the deadliest war in history. World War V has started, and it's really like escalating in the Americas. I mean, just look at whatever is happening right here. This is just insanity. Same with here. It's just weird, but anyways, yeah. Please, 900 subs before the end of the month. We're at like 880 or something. Uh, that's possible. I don't think we're gonna get to 1K. It's possible we get to 1K. However, I'm more aiming that for September, and then I really will be laying off sub goals after 1K because I feel like it's a little, just a little too much. A little too much in my opinion. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.